rock that.
No matter what I say about The Last of Us Part 2, the video and the review is going to be divisive no matter what. The game was already going to be divisive no matter what, because about like a month or so ago, a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, the game and the details of it got leaked out, and it fucking sucked for a lot of people, because when they read what it was, and the leaks also had footage of what was going to happen with the game, people hated it. People really did not like it, and they were not excited for it. And for a long time, for a few weeks, I actually, completely just ignored the leaks as well. But eventually, it got to a point where I just said, "Fuck it. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen with the game?" Sorry if you hear cars driving by. I can't do anything about it. For a long time, I stayed away from the leaks. I was like, I don't want to know. But eventually, it got to a point where I just said, "Fuck it." Right? They can't be that bad. And then when I when I learned what the leaks were, I was not excited. I was actually very angry. I was very upset. And for a while, for weeks on end, I was constantly thinking about the leaks and wondering if they were actually even true, or what the context of them were even going to be about. I was confused. I didn't know what to think, and all I knew is that there was a character, and that character's name was Abby. And after playing The Last of Us Part 2, and figuring out what leaks were real and what leaks weren't real, they were all fucking real. Abby's a terrible fucking character, and I hate this bitch. I'm sorry. That's not the point of the video. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm very upset. I'm very angry. I just got done playing The Last of Us Part 2. I beat the game, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the game. I'm not happy with how the game ended, and I'm not happy with a specific character by the name of Abby, who was, unfortunately, for a lot of people who didn't like this game, a main character, as you can say. And let's get the positives out first really quick, because those are going to be really short, and it's going to be really easy for me to explain. Visually, this game is amazing. This game visually is fantastic. The sound design, the graphics, the small little minute details, the character models, the voice acting from the performers of Troy Baker as Joel, Ashley Johnson as Ellie, and Laura Bailey as Ellie, or not Ellie, I'm sorry, Abby. Even though I don't like Abby's, you can already tell Laura Bailey did a phenomenal performance, as she always does. I want to see these people still have work, even if I didn't like the game. I hold no remorse from the developers themselves, not Neil Druckmann, the director of the game, not the voice actors, nothing. I don't feel any anger or whatever, any sort of emotion for the voice actors. I still believe that they are phenomenal. I think they should still have the opportunity to do more extra work, but this game was just not amazing. A couple other good things. I think the gameplay is fine. If you like The Last of Us 1 and you like the gameplay of that game, you're pretty much just going to get it. Yeah, you're pretty much just going to get the exact same game, besides a little bit of extra stuff. You can sprint jump, you could jump, you could prone. In terms of crafting, you can craft suppressors for your guns, you can craft arrows, you can craft explosive arrows, you can craft different kinds of tools, like mines and like stun bombs, smoke bombs, etc. Between the two characters of Ellie and Abby, they actually have a little bit of a different tool set in terms of weapons. Both of their weapons are entirely different, so if you like one gun on one character, you're not going to get that on the other, which I think is fine. I don't think that's too bad of a thing, and I prefer that, because I think it'd be really weird and dumb for both characters to have the exact same guns. Just know that when you're getting into it. The music, even though there was surprisingly a little bit of a lack of music than what I was expecting, I think the music is still great. I think the music is still really, really good. And just the cinematography was also really good. I saw a few people saying that this wasn't really a game, this was more so a movie, and yeah, I kind of understand that testament, because visually, in terms of, like I said, character models, voice acting, performances, graphics, cinematography, all this stuff, it's very good, and it's pretty much on like the scale of like a Netflix original like TV series or something like that. And it was really good. Yeah, like I said, the gameplay was fine. I liked the Last of Us 1 gameplay, and you pretty much get the exact same thing in The Last of Us Part 2. Besides a little bit of extra like mechanics, but they're not like too game changing or anything. If you're going into this game in terms of gameplay and expecting something that was game changing or genre defying, that's not what you're gonna get. You're gonna get, you know, a couple of like extra things that surface on top for The Last of Us Part 1 gameplay. Nothing more than that. Yeah, that's kind of it. Um, I liked all the stuff with Ellie, right? I liked all the stuff in, you know, the story and the writing for Ellie and the characters that she was with, and even with Abby, with some of the characters that she was with, I liked them, but it's Abby who I fucking hate, and I think that's when we're gonna get into the narrative because, oh man. Let's just get into the narrative finally. This is the main meat of the video that I really want to talk about. So, I guess let's just get into it. Now, let me make it clear that everything about the narrative I actually didn't hate completely. Most of the stuff with Ellie, I actually didn't really mind too much. I thought it was actually kind of okay. Mainly because the writing with her and the characters that she was with was strong enough and compelling enough that I was like, yeah, I actually kind of enjoy this. I think this is okay. And I want to see more of this. Even something that happens early on in the game, like about like in the first hour or two within the beginning of the game, which we'll get to and explain what that is in a little bit. Some of you already know what that is. Even though it was shocking and even though it made a lot of people upset, so much to the point where there was I think a Korean streamer that actually took his Last of Us 2 disc, the data disc and the actual play disc itself, and he took a pair of scissors and he cut them in half after the scene had played out. He was very upset, and a lot of other people were upset too. And even when I saw it for myself, I was shocked. I was just sitting there in my chair watching it, just bawling my eyes out. The whole time as Ellie is like trying to get out of the people's grips, and you know, you start hearing like a distortion, like symbolizing that she's like not focusing on anything and she can't hear anything else besides the fact that Joel is dead. Yeah, I'm talking about the Joel death scene. It surprised me. It was something that I didn't want to happen, and I thought it was going to happen much significantly later, which I actually watched a couple of videos last night before I went to bed about a little bit of false advertising that happened with The Last of Us 2 trailers, which led me to believe that that was going to be the case with Joel to begin with, that he was going to be in the game much longer than we thought he was going to be, which I'll actually link those videos down in the description because those videos were actually kind of insightful and made me actually a little bit upset after I watched them. And essentially what happened was, in some of the trailers for The Last of Us Part 2, you can very blatantly see that some character models and cutscenes from the trailers are way different than what we actually got in-game, right? Like, there was that one, I forget which trailer it was, but there was one trailer where, excuse me, where it showed an older Ellie and Joel, right? And we didn't know where they were. I'll probably throw a screenshot on screen. Some of you are probably already seeing it. I probably just took the clip from the video itself, which again, I'll leave it linked down in the description if you really want to see the full thing. Basically, the scene in game is a flashback scene where Ellie had went off to the St. Mary's Hospital back from The Last of Us Part 1, and she wanted to see for herself what actually had happened, and she found out that, you know, the Fireflies had disbanded because of the fact that Joel had saved Ellie and basically stopped at a chance for there potentially being a cure, which I'll get into a little bit about how I feel about that after the events of this game. But regardless, this is a flashback scene set a couple years ahead of after The Last of Us Part 1, but a few years before the beginning of The Last of Us Part 2. So this Joel and Ellie are still relatively younger than what they eventually end up becoming. In the trailers, they're seen to be way older than they actually are, when they're supposed to be way younger than what they actually are in game. And so basically, it's just a difference of player models, and it's super weird that I saw that, because then I realized that, yeah, I actually noticed that for one scene in particular, which happens, it happens after you find the theater with Dina, and Ellie goes off by herself, and she's starting to look for Tommy, and she goes off, and she is then, like, her mouth is covered, and they're hiding from a couple of WLF guys. And in the trailer, it doesn't look like those are actually even WLF guys at all. And Ellie says, "What are you doing here?" And it's revealed that it's Joel, right? Or so we thought. It's a little bit of an editing, marketing technique where they reveal Joel, but in game it's actually just Jesse. Jesse was the one who actually is there in game and in that cutscene, doing that for Ellie. And it's smart editing, and I understand this is all marketing, but it's still, false advertising for making us think that Joel's going to be in the game much longer. There's also one for the 2016 trailer that came out, obviously, years ago, about like 4 years ago. You can make your argument for that all you like. Again, these videos will be linked down in the description. So far, I've only seen 3 of them. I don't know if there's going to be any more coming out sooner rather than later, but you can make an argument for the 2016 trailer for a couple of different things, and I'm not going to get into it because it's not really that important, but it's weird. I just thought Joel was going to be in the game much longer than he actually was. I'm sure a lot of people thought that at the same time as well, and then he ends up dying in like the first hour or two of the fucking game, and I'm going to be honest, it legitimately really upset me, because Joel, he's a beloved character by many people, including myself, and more people were wanting to see him, do more stuff instead of just doing stuff in flashbacks, right? It's cool that we can still see him in the cutscenes and in the game with this high resolution model and this highly more detailed model of Joel. But we wanted to see him be more proactive. We wanted to see him be more of a proactive character, instead of being a fucking reaction character. He's basically just reacting to what other people are doing. He's not the leading character alongside with Ellie, who are essentially the 2 main characters. The 2 main characters of this game are Ellie and Abby. And Abby is the worst one of the 2. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter try to make arguments for Abby, but I saw a Reddit post for obviously Abby and Ellie's differences in character, and it made me realize a lot of things after I had finished playing through the game and saw the ending, which I think is not great. Just, they really try to make you feel for Abby, and they try to make you sympathize for Abby. Like, an example is that they give her a fear of heights, right? They give her a fear of heights, and they put her in multiple different situations where they make her terrified of looking down and seeing that she's really significantly higher up than she's what she's used to. And a unique thing that they actually do that I think is cool for what it's worth is that they actually do like a dolly zoom out to emphasize that fear that Abby is feeling when she's looking downwards, right? Like, there's a mission where you're playing with a former Seraphite member named Lev, right? And you're up in like this huge building on this like broken like construction tower, and if you look down, then Abby is gonna audibly make a lot of distressing sounds, that she's very fearful for her life, because she's afraid that she might accidentally let go and she's gonna fall like thousands of feet down into the ground and just fucking die. And it's like, in that aspect, I guess that's kind of cool, but they try to humanize her by making by making her have a fear of heights. They surround her with a bunch of the WLF's dogs, and these dogs are like cute and innocent, but then you realize when you're fighting them against Ellie, who you're forced to kill, you're not forced to just stop these dogs in their tracks. You're forced to kill them, uh, as Abby, you're playing around with these dogs. There's a part in one of the missions where you can literally play catch with one of the dogs that's a part of the WLF, and they make it look all sweet and cute, and they put you in control of doing that to make Abby seem like that she's not that bad of a person. Realistically, Abby is just as bad as any of these other fucking people. She's done terrible, awful things. She's an immoral person who really gets off on hurting people. She feels no remorse after killing Joel. She feels no remorse after forcing someone who was pleading for his life, right? She felt no remorse after killing someone right in front of someone else who was pleading for his life, and also, saved her life. Joel had saved her life in a previous cutscene along with Tommy, and she's just like, yeah, fuck that. I know you saved my life and all from almost getting, mauled by a bunch of the infected and everything, but because I have such a massive hate boner because my dad is a character who only got relevant in this game in particular, I want to kill you at any cost. And so she shoots him in the leg with a fucking shotgun point blank and blows it in half, and then maliciously, ruthlessly beats him to death with a golf club. The way that Joel went on in this game was fucking terrible. It was fucking terrible. I'm not mad because he died, because like I said, narratively, if they had done it right, this could have been something impactful, right? Joel's death could have meant something and could have been a lot, and it could have been a lot more impactful than it actually was. The way he dies in this game, though, is a fucking travesty, and it's insulting to people who loved The Last of Us Part 1, who loved the first game, who loved Joel and understand his character and why he did the things that he did. And you even see him in his best moments within this game. You see a lot of his great moments in this game, like towards the ending of the game, and that scene actually got me very emotional for a second at the end of the game, and then I was just like, oh wow, that's the end of the game. That's fucked up. What else? Just she fucking gets off on hurting people, dude. Like towards the end of the game and the end of her chapter, Dina finds all the people she cares about dead, right? Because in a previous scene, when you're playing as Ellie, you accidentally kill Owen, which was a guy that Abby really cared about and had previous relations with before. And by the way, there's like a really fucking awkward sex cutscene with her and him together, and it was weird, and I'm not gonna go into why it's weird. Some of you who don't really like the game and haven't seen that, you're gonna know why it's fucking weird. But Ellie also kills Mel, who was also pregnant, along with Dina. Dina is also pregnant in this game. And something that's also kind of weird about this game is that they really tried to push emphasis on the fact that these women are pregnant and the fact that, killing them is immoral. And it's like, we already know that that's pretty immoral. Can you, invoke more emotion on the fact that these women are pregnant and that we just care about their characters? Do they have to be pregnant in order for us to feel bad? But anyways, yeah, Ellie accidentally kills Mel, who was pregnant, and accidentally does it because all she really did was just defend herself. Because Mel was about to, stab her because, she had also shot Owen, and again, in self-defense. This is all self-defense. She didn't mean to kill these people, and she's completely mortified by this. And there's also another girl named Nora who she ruthlessly, beats the hell out of with a pipe and feels, awful by this. She feels mortified by this. She's shocked by her actions that she has done within this game. And she doesn't take pleasure in doing this, but she only did the first thing against Nora because she wanted to get information as to where she could find Abby. And she only killed Abby's other two friends, Owen and Mel, because she did it in self-defense. Abby then shows up to where Ellie is hiding, and she then proceeds to beat the hell out of Tommy. When Jesse and Ellie, go into the room where those two are at, along with Lev, but that's not really important because he doesn't do much. She kills Jesse, shoots Tommy, and I thought he died, but he actually didn't die apparently. He's just he got shot in the leg with an arrow, so now he's like half fucking crippled now with his eye and his leg. And then she proceeds, where you are controlling Abby's character model, you're actually controlling Abby doing this. You're forced to have to fight and beat the hell out of Ellie. She proceeds to then break her arm, and then she not even almost, she does take pleasure in almost killing Dina, who went and retaliated back for almost killing Ellie, right? Ellie's like, stop, she's pregnant. And then Abby says, good, right? She's taking pleasure in the fact that she's about to kill a pregnant woman, right? Not even realizing the fact that, what if, Mel's death was an accident, right? She's thinking out of, anger and frustration and emotion, right? And I get that. She is going off of anger and frustrations because of the fact that, Ellie killed a friend that, or she killed someone who was considered a friend who was also pregnant. Why should she do the same thing? But realistically, if Abby was a fucking good character, she wouldn't have done this and wouldn't have to need to rely on Lev, this random ass fucking kid who was a part of the Seraphites beforehand, who also tries to fucking help humanize Abby, make her seem like a better person than she actually is, along with someone else, because he's just a kid, to stop and not kill Dina. It's fucking awful. It's fucking terrible. Abby is a terrible fucking character. And if that wasn't bad enough, there are two other things that make me really fucking hate Abby and her inclusion in this game. If she wasn't in this game would be fine. Her inclusion in this game straight up ruins and causes retcons and plot holes for the previous game. So, the doctor who was supposed to be the one performing surgery on Ellie to potentially create a vaccine or a cure for the cordyceps virus that exists within the world of The Last of Us, that was apparently Abby's father. So they retconned that particular doctor and gave him relevance to a character that hadn't even existed yet. Which is very, very fucking stupid. Because on both sides it's a revenge story, but the problem is they give relevance to a character who didn't need to be relevant in the fucking first place. No one thought twice about this doctor guy. No one thought twice about him. No one ever considered him to be important in any way other than he was potentially going to be important. To doing the surgery, rather. I'm sorry. I didn't even phrase myself right. No, he's important in the mindset that he's going to perform the surgery on Ellie and is going to kill her, right? All the while, the Fireflies aren't even sure if this is even going to be able to create a fucking cure or not. People don't even know if this is actually going to guarantee that a cure is going to be fucking made. And there's an argument that people always like to make with Joel's decision from The Last of Us Part 1. People don't even really know if a vaccine was ever going to be created in the first place. It wasn't guaranteed, just... all the doctor ever really said, Abby's father, all he ever really said was, let there be a chance. And the reason why I also say that there's a plot hole, or plot holes, there's probably multiple that I haven't even picked up on yet. Marlene. As we know in the first game, Marlene really cared about Ellie a lot. And at the end of the game, or with the cutscene in particular with Abby, her father, and Marlene, Marlene is obviously saying to her, like, to sacrifice her life. Why is that the only option, right? Meanwhile, her father, or Abby's father, is still wanting to do this because he wants there to at least be a chance of there being a potential cure. That's what he's wanting, right? He wants there to at least be a chance. Meanwhile, Marlene, he's trying to argue that there has to be another way. There has to be a way to be able to do this without having to take Ellie's life, right? She's trying to basically plead for her life, and then finally, she just decides, what, fine, just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and perform the surgery. And I think that's really dumb, because if you remember in part 1, at the ending of part 1, when Marlene is explaining that they're about to go into surgery and that the surgery will kill her, I don't remember, I didn't go back and watch the cutscene to see if she ever really said anything regarding this, but excuse me. At the ending of part 1, she shows like no, like not being really that upset by it, right? Marlene is just in The Last of Us Part One. She's just like, let her be the one to choose this. Let her be the one to decide whether or not she wants to go through with this. This is what she would want. She would want to do this and that. Blah blah blah. She only shows signs of, only caring about the one thing, which is creating a vaccine, not for her life or anything, right? I thought it would have made more sense if, as she's telling Joel that this would kill her, she also mentions the fact that if it makes you feel any better, I didn't want this either. If I could have had it any other way to where she would still be alive and we get a vaccine, I would choose that option. But there's nothing that we can do, and this may be our only chance of getting a vaccine. If she had said that in The Last of Us Part 1, this scene would have made a lot more sense. At least a little bit fucking more than what it actually goddamn did. But they didn't do that. Instead, they fucking retcon and create a plot hole within the fucking story of The Last of Us and just ruin it. They fucking ruin it. Abby's inclusion is fucking terrible because at the end of the fucking game, when you're finally at the fucking fight scene where you're beating the shit out of Abby, when you're about to drown her, she bites two of Ellie's fingers off, right? And Ellie is like strangling her underwater, and she's about to kill her. She then has a brief fucking flashback of Joel, of seeing him again, and she just fucking stops. Ellie just decides, nah, fuck it, I'm not gonna do it. I don't, you can go ahead and go, because Joel taught me that killing is bad and revenge is bad. Which I think is fucking stupid. I think it's stupid. I think it was the dumbest fucking choice ever. And in the end, Ellie goes back to fucking nothing. She goes back to fucking nothing. She doesn't even kill Abby. And Ellie ends up with fucking nothing. And Dina had her baby, which, by the way, when the whole like Abby getting off on almost killing a pregnant woman thing, it had been 9 months since that had happened, right? Dina had her baby called JJ. When Ellie decided to finally go ahead and leave and try to find Abby at Santa Barbara, I think it's called. Dina, whenever she goes back to the farm with her fucking 2 missing fingers on her left hand, Dina is gone, the baby is gone, all of the stuff is gone, besides everything that belonged to Ellie. It's all gone. Everything is fucking gone, and Ellie just ends up with fucking nothing in the end. It's her greatest fear that Ellie would end up being alone. If you remember, Ellie mentioned that was one of her greatest fears, of ending up alone, and it's exactly what she fucking gets, and I goddamn hated it. I goddamn hated that we didn't even get to at least kill Abby, right? I would have been fine with that part in the ending if we had at least killed Abby, but we don't even fucking do that. And you want to know why? Because this is Neil Druckmann's favorite fucking character that he's ever written before, which explains so fucking much of the favoritism to try to, humanize her and seem like a good person by having her, surrounded at all times with these 2 fucking innocent kids who are a part of a cult and decide, like, no, we want to abandon that, and they also save her life. They surround her with fucking, dogs, right? They surround her with dogs, adorable, cute little doggies and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And one more other thing that I'm kind of forgetting about, because I saw it in our Reddit post. I'll probably put the image on screen if you want to read it for yourself. It was just a fucking disaster. And when the credits were rolling and I was just watching it flow by, I was bawling my eyes out. And I wasn't bawling my eyes out for the ending. I was bawling my fucking eyes out because I felt like somehow, in some way, I fucking didn't avenge Joel. Joel felt so fucking real to me. Even though he's just a fictional character that doesn't exist, he felt so real to me. I was so connected with him that I felt like I fucking failed him. I felt like I didn't get to avenge him. I felt like I fucking failed him by not saving his life and by not at least avenging his life after death. I was so fucking upset by that. I was crying for minutes on end, and I was so upset, and I didn't know what to fucking do. And I even still don't even really know what the fuck to do. I'm still just incredibly fucking upset by this, and I'm beyond I'm beyond upset with this game. This doesn't tarnish The Last of Us Part 1 for me. I think Part 1 is still, pretty much a masterpiece, but this game was just not it. The narrative in so many ways just doesn't make sense and it falls apart. Mainly because of the inclusion with Abby. Abby is the main fucking fault of this game, and I fucking hate her with every fiber in my human being life. I fucking hate this. The only cool thing she had with the fucking game was one of the new infected, which is basically not a shambler, it's not a bloater, it's not a stalker, it's not a runner. It's this entirely new fucking creature that exists within the bottom of a hospital that is basically a combined force of a whole bunch of infected combined together. And it looks pretty fucking cool and it's intimidating as hell. And the boss fight was actually kind of cool because the whole time you're running away from it, it kills you in one shot. You have to constantly fucking shoot all your rounds at it. It was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool fucking boss fight and I actually kind of enjoyed it. That was the only part that I enjoyed of her side of the game. A couple of weapons were kind of interesting. And a couple of the characters that she was with, I gave more of a shit about than she did. Throughout the entire time that I was playing as Ellie, I was enthralled and invested in what she was doing. The entire time that I was playing as Abby, I was bored out of my fucking mind. I was bored out of my fucking mind wondering, hey, when are we going to get back to Ellie? And then very soon I realized that, oh, we're going to be here for a while. This is going to be half of the fucking game, isn't it? And yeah, it fucking was, and I'm so upset by that, and I fucking hate it. Fuck Abby, she's a fucking stupid little goddamn messed up fucking whore, and I hate her. I hate her with every fiber in my being. I want to end off the video and say that if you like The Last of Us Part 2, you're perfectly fine to like The Last of Us Part 2. I'm not going to deny you of that privilege. I'm not going to deny you of anything. If you like The Last of Us Part 2, more power to you. I don't really care. For me, for what I was expecting, for what I was hoping, this wasn't it. This wasn't what I was expecting. I don't like Abby. I think Neil Druckmann and the writers wrote her into a position that just wasn't connecting with me. And I don't understand why so many people seem to really like her. I was really curious about what some people thought. Apparently PewDiePie doesn't even really like this game, and I haven't even seen any of his playthroughs videos yet, so I'm gonna have to get around to that pretty soon. But I was on Twitter, and then I saw Jacksepticeye saying that he was going to give his thoughts about the game at the end of his final video. And I was like, okay, well, I'm actually kind of curious as to what he thinks about the game. And then I was looking at some of the replies, and people were wondering if he actually even liked it or not. And he said he did. I don't know what he sees in the game. I don't. I'm not gonna call, Jack an idiot for liking this game. Again, that's his subjective opinion. Maybe he likes something about Abby that I just didn't. I don't know. I don't like this game. I think it's very bad. I think it's terrible. And it's mostly just the inclusion of Abby herself. If Abby didn't exist, I think this game would have been fine, and I think this game would have been better in some ways. But because they tried to put so much of a focus on her, I just didn't care. I didn't care for her. I didn't care about what she was doing. I didn't care about her motives. I didn't care who she was. I didn't care. I didn't care enough to want to get invested into this character. With the cheap manipulation tactics that they try to pull the entire time as you're playing as her, to try to make us like her, it ruined the game. It ruined the game for me. And I'm still, very upset about all this. This still, tears me apart, to be completely honest. I know it's a little silly to say that about a video game, but when it has the namesake of the first game, a game that I connected with a lot, even though it didn't really do too many things unique, it was written and done in a special way, and it made me fall in love with the characters that were a part of it. And the fact that one of my favorite characters that has ever existed for any game dies in the first hour upsets me beyond belief. That's the end of the video. I don't want to drag this on any longer than it does. This was mostly just a rant about Abby and her inclusion with the narrative, and why her inclusion with the narrative makes the narrative really bad. Other than that, just if you like the game, go ahead and like it. If you don't like the game, let me know why the reasons you didn't like it were. Was it specifically for Abby, or was it specifically for other reasons? I'm curious. Just let me know. Yeah, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like, and if you didn't like it, be sure to leave a dislike. Let me know how I can improve my videos in the future. Uh, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.
Over Jordan, I'm just a going over home. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going